Speaking of, all-time greats, Bob Myers, the GM for the Golden State Warriors and obviously the architect of this dynasty. You got to give Bob Myers credit. He was on 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area today, a radio station out there in San Francisco, Oakland. And Rob, he was told, and I think I mentioned this to you before, Steph Curry is only the third player in NBA Finals history. Now, Rob G, check this out. He's the third player in the NBA Finals history to average 25 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds a game on 55% true shooting. The other two, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Now, there are actually 4 players, Rob G, that have averaged 25, 5, and 5, along with Steph, MJ, and LeBron, is Kobe Bryant, but Kobe didn't do it on the 55% true shooting. But anyway, when Myers was made aware of that, here's what he said.
He's a made man. There's nothing he's done. Forget about this final. It's already been done. He's already done it. I mean, he's already proven it. I don't know what he has to continue to prove. I don't know what it is about him that causes people to fail to recognize what he's doing out there.
And he started that, Rob, with "It's so sad we have to defend him." And I think he was talking to you. And so Bob Myers just threw it out. Why in the world do we still have to defend Steph Curry? And you're you're one of the people he had in mind, I'm sure.
I just think at some point, okay, people, when you talk about all-time greatness, Chris, we talk about, they're going to nitpick at your resume. They're going to take a look. You've done all these things in the finals all this time, yet you haven't won a finals MVP, yet you've had those moments where you haven't knocked down a big shot. It's more than one thing. Sure, he's put up numbers. Chris, if there was a signature moment in the finals where Steph does a half-court 3, dribbles up, and bangs down a 3, and they win the game or win a championship on that shot, it would be different. We don't have a signature shot in the finals. We don't have a finals MVP. We saw in game 1 where he went Casper the Friendly Ghost for the last 6 minutes and his team lost. So we've seen those moments. That's why everybody's not in lockstep over Steph Curry. It doesn't mean they don't respect his ability or his talent, but he doesn't have that moment. That's what people look for. They're looking for the Michael Jordan shrug of the shoulders. I don't know. I can't believe I'm knocking down all these shots. Or some big shot where you go, man, that gave me goosebumps. Oh, my God, Steph Curry's unbelievable. Did you see that shot to win the game and win another championship? We haven't seen it. I think that's fair. I don't know why people are acting like Steph's done everything. No, he hasn't. He hasn't given us those memories yet, Chris. That's what people are wanting and trying to get and feel like he's complete but incomplete because he hasn't given us those moments yet. And I think it's fair for fans and people to question and say that Steph's not all the way there because we don't have any of those.
Well, I think, number one, it depends on the context of the discussion. If you're talking about, like as many have brought up now, top 10 players of all time, and that's fair in that discussion. If you're talking about, is Steph an all-time great? Is Steph one of the best guards in the history of basketball? Is Steph a top 15 or 20 player of all time? Then that's where the problem is. And do you agree with all of those statements, Rob, that he is an all-time great guard, that he's a top 20 player of all time? Or I'd say
top
15,
20, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that everybody thinks he's top 10 or he's Magic Johnson or anything like that. I think, you know what I mean? I think
that's where the difference is. And I look, I'm not going to really fight you on it as long as you acknowledge he is great. And I think he's top 15 of all time. If you say top 20 as some others do, that's cool. And to your point, we do nitpick. If we're in the top 10 of all time discussion, we're going to nitpick Kobe. And we're going to bring up the Phoenix game in the playoffs where he quit on his team.
And Chris,
we're going to
nitpick
Steph. We're going to nitpick Shaq. We're going to nitpick everybody. Bird. And so I'm fine with that. But I do agree with Bob Myers when he says Steph is a made man. He is. And here's the thing, Rob. I get what you're saying about that moment. Now, let's see how this series plays out. It's somewhat, it's somewhat fair, but it also, like, to me, look, a basketball game isn't won or a championship isn't won in a moment.
No,
it's won over the course of a 48-minute game. And that is sometimes that does bother me. The commentary from you and others bothers me because it narrows down a 48-minute game to the last 10 seconds.
Okay, but let me just say this.
And that's just not how it works. If Steph's not dropping his 25 points, they're not even in position for someone to make a game-winning shot in the last 10 seconds. So that's what I disagree with. I mean, let's just be, true about it. The whole game matters. I get it. Late moments are important, but to act like they erase the previous 46 minutes or 47 minutes and 30 seconds is ridiculous.
But here's what I'm going to say. You can look at KD has 2 of those shots in his only
what
2.
What shots?
Well, big shots. The one in front of LeBron's face.
There were no big shots in that series.
Hold on.
They were up 2-1? 2-0?
LeBron has a couple of a handful of moments that you can look back. Even the junior skyhook by Magic. There are just moments that people look at. And Chris, maybe they don't matter to you.
Rookie season.
But I think that there are fans who look for those kind of special moments, and Steph hasn't had one yet. And I think you just talked about it before on Monday. I don't remember what day it was.
Had they won that game,
had they won that game where he had the big first quarter, but obviously they didn't win. Obviously he went scoreless the last 6 minutes. So you'll never talk about those 21 points in the first quarter and 6 threes because they don't really factor in. And that would have been a moment where, even though it's not at the end of the game, you could have looked back and said, remember he put on that show in the first quarter and he blew out the Celtics or whatever it was. So I do think maybe it's not big for you, but I do think some fans like that. I'm not saying
it's not big, but I'm saying because Ray Allen hit that shot against San Antonio, does that make him better than Kevin Durant?
It makes it more memorable, and that's what
Steph ain't got to worry about being memorable.
No,
I mean,
but
he's going to be memorable whether you got a finals shot that you point to or not.
That's
the thing. His career is memorable.
I get his career, but I'm talking about those moments and those baskets and all sports, those home runs in the bottom of the ninth. There's just certain things that make you think about people in a certain light.
We think about Kirk Gibson, right?
2-hit. He got 2 big home runs.
Right. But
you know who he is.
There are hundreds of greater players than him.
But you know who he is because of
moment. Fine, but I know who Steph Curry is because he won 3 championships, the only unanimous MVP, and he's the greatest. He changed the game of basketball. I mean, I'm not trying to belittle moments, Rod, because you are right. There are certain moments. But my thing is, if Steph never has that moment, that doesn't diminish his greatness. If they win this championship, and I could argue game 2 was a moment. Now they blew him out, but why did they blow him out? Because of Steph. And so some people might not look at that as, that moment. But if let's say they win this series, he's the finals MVP, but there is no quote unquote moment. Right? Like their wins are maybe like game 2 when they blow him out. He plays great, but doesn't have to be a last second shot, anything like that. Does that diminish? I mean, would you still say, even if he's got the finals MVP, he's got 2 rings now without Durant, would you still be saying, yeah, but he's 0 for 9 in potential game winning shots in the playoffs or finals, or doesn't have that quote unquote moment?
Well, I mean, if he wins a championship, that's going to boost up his resume. But if he doesn't win, I think I just think that
I'm asking you in hypothetically.
Yeah, if he wins,
if he
obviously
wins,
the
but
champ
doesn't have that quote unquote moment.
Yeah, but
you're
it's
talking
not.
about.
It's what we're talking about when it comes to looking at a player, and obviously if he wins the MVP, that's going to be good for him because that checks another box. But without that is what I'm saying. Why people look for moments and situations that they can wrap themselves around.
So if he has the Finals MVP, then now you're not so much looking for a moment.
Exactly, because he checked that box. But you see what I'm saying? If he doesn't check that box and he doesn't have it and they don't win, then you're like, well, Steph was a great player, did all that. But, man, in the finals, he never had that moment. He never won a finals MVP. You could use that against him when you talk about the greatest of all time. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a top 10 discussion, I get it. You like we've said it a number of times before, Rob. You nitpick. You would say, hey, Kobe's got a finals MVP, a couple of them, Shaq, so on and so forth, Bird, and Steph doesn't. But I would just say, don't let that erase the fact that this dude is, think about that, 1 of 4. Because I'm going to throw Kobe in there because true shooting percentage, and Kobe was not as efficient as these 3 guys. I get it, but still, 1 of 4 to average 25, 5, and 5. Not Durant, who's capable of putting up those numbers. Not Bird, who was capable of putting up those numbers. I mean, Magic could have scored like that, but that wasn't his role. But think no one else. And if he's putting up 25, and let's say, I mean, he is their closer now, of course. He was one of their closers with Durant. But if you had another closer, I mean, how many times, Rob, was it Fisher or Robert Horry that ended up hitting the big shot for the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe there? Doesn't mean Shaq or Kobe, couldn't close, or doesn't diminish what they did over the 48 minutes, but they might not have been the one to hit the big shot. So I just think sometimes there's way too much emphasis on hitting that last shot. As valuable as that is, the first 46 minutes is huge, is part and parcel critical to the game. Why people be hating on Steph?
Is that it?
People meaning Rob Parker. And
Tony in Oakland, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Tony?
Hey, how's it going, fellas? How we doing tonight?
Good,
doing
man. How are you?
Hey, man, so me personally, I think people hate on Steph Curry just due to his background. He's his father was a great basketball player in himself, so he doesn't really get it out the mud, as people like to say, like LeBron James did or Kevin Durant. But man, I think Rob Parker, man, you got to stop with this nonsense. The guy's a walking highlight reel. He shoots threes and walks away, doesn't even watch them go in. He just knows that they're going in, and then
give me his. Hey, Tony, just give me his finals moment that you still was great to you.
Okay,
Tony, don't even go for him.
Tony,
go
give
ahead,
it to me, Tony.
Because it's ridiculous.
I got a better one. I got a better one for him. What about that ankle breaker on CP3? I mean, the guy hasn't never recovered. His ankles have never recovered from that ankle breaker that Steph Curry gave him.
He does put it on CP3.
That's a regular season game. I'm asking you about finals. Here's what I'll say, though, Rod. Again, Tony, you came up empty.
This is what I would equate your obsession with this quote-unquote finals moment to. It would be like if I was like, Steph is, I won't even go to GOAT, but that Steph is undoubtedly top 10 because he's the only unanimous MVP ever. Now, that would be ridiculous because plenty of guys should have been unanimous MVPs. But if I just harped on that, he's the only one. Who else? Is LeBron? Is Jordan? Is Curry? I mean, that to me, that's the equivalent. It's something you can count, you can point to, but it's ridiculous because everybody knows, come on, that's not the thing.
All right, Adam in Nashville. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Adam?
Hey, man, I just don't think he needs it. That's all. I mean, for me personally, right? Like, he's just he's a guy who gives me inspiration because I can never be Jordan. I can never be LeBron, but I might could be Steph, right? Like, he's just a little dude, baby face, grows his beard patchy. Like, he's not just an average guy, right? But he comes across the court, and you better put a hand on him like as soon as he crosses half court. So I think he gives inspiration. He's made a legacy that way, man. I don't have a moment for you, man, but I don't really need a moment.
Nobody has a moment.
His
you don't
whole
have a moment
career
because
is
he
a
hasn't had
moment.
one. That's
His
the
whole
problem.
career is a moment. Real
You don't
talk.
have a moment.
At least
No.
the last 8 years.
Hey,
That long enough of a moment for you?
no, that's not good enough. Mark in Sacramento, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What up, Mark?
What's going on, gentlemen? I needed to call and balance this out. From the Steph Curry hype man. Chris, slow down a little bit, okay?
Yes.
Nah, go. Let me hear what you got to say. Come on.
Okay. Well, you better back off because you're challenging. You know I'll come at you like a freight train. Here I come.
Yo,
Come on, Mark. Give it to him. Give it to
Bring
him.
it on,
Here I
brother.
come.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Because he can shoot threes, just like the caller said, you can identify him. He's got more fans that way. Kids, everybody likes him. So they don't want to criticize him. Now I'm gonna give you a guy.
He gets
Rob,
plenty of criticism.
That the opposite of this. LeBron James, you criticize everything he does, no matter what it is, and there's a guy do it every day. Steph, nobody wants to criticize him because they like him.
Hold on,
so
Mark.
they put him
Stop. Keep
higher.
Mark on the
They
line.
put him higher. That's a lot of
You
it.
are flat out
100%.
wrong.
100% right,
Hold on.
Mark.
No,
100.
Rob, and you know this. LeBron absolutely gets criticized. I'm a LeBron guy, but he gets criticized. But don't sit here and act like Steph don't get criticized.
He doesn't.
You don't
Stop
criticize him.
Rob,
You're the hype man, bruh. You're the hype man all day, every day.
He never criticizes Steph.
Rob, I criticized him after game 1.
Well, you had no choice with a six
I had a
scoreless.
choice.
What?
You
What
got
are
a
gonna
choice
say?
too,
He hasn't
and you
scored in the
never
last 6
criticize
minutes?
certain guys. I'll criticize whoever if it's warranted. I know LeBron way better than I know Steph. I've done way more into one-on-one interviews with LeBron than Steph, but I've been critical of him too, just like I'll be critical of Steph. To sit here and say people aren't critical of Steph, it's just lunacy. Because people
No,
are
they make
critical
it
of
like
Steph,
he hasn't done
LeBron,
anything. Nobody
everybody.
criticizes his defense. Everybody.
First of all, you need to chill. The Steph can't play defense narrative
I didn't say
needs
that.
to stop.
I said they never
because
criticize his
he's
defense.
become now a solid defender.
They like Steph Curry because the kids like him
Who's
because they're the
they?
same. They're the
Who's
same
they?
size, and they can pick Steph Curry up. So that's why they feel good like that.
All right, we got Antonio Daniels joining us in a moment. Don't use that tomorrow night at your open mic. All right,
Not
we
tomorrow, Thursday night.
Oh,
It's Tuesday.
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday
okay.
night.
But first, Brian Finley with the update. Beat Fin.
It shows you how much Chris is excited about Rob's
Look,
debut by
Mark
forgetting
from
the date.
Sacramento. Don't be. Mark think he put somebody in their place.
I love you, Mark.
I'm being nice
Mark,
when you
I
talk
love
about,
you.
oh, yeah.
Man, you took care of Chris for me.
Don't
My
call up here
goodness.
like, Chris, I know you ain't jumping bad.
I'll take
jump
the day
bad
off.
in a minute, bro.
I'll take the day
A
off,
minute.
man, with Mark on Chris's tail. I loved it, Mark. Thank you.